What is going on, folks? I am Goat. Welcome back to Warframe. How the hell are you? So, we're gonna talk about the last dev stream. I mean, what was it? DevStream 188, I think. Here, let me look. I always get the numbers mixed up. There's so fucking many of them, man. Let's just look at YouTube and see what their last one was. Yeah, DevStream 188. So, man, you know what? Here, like, stand by. I'm gonna mute my desktop audio for a second here. Bruh. You stop it. More. Okay. So, just to have a little list of their stuff. There's a couple of controversial little things that are going on, and I'm going to stand here and just be honest and say that I understand one of them, and the other one I'm just like, bro, whatever. Like, we'll figure it the fuck out. I said it back during the ammo nerf back in 2021. I said it, multiple times during this game that, when something gets potentially nerfed, or what they do in the game is supposed to be a buff, and it tends to kind of lean towards a nerf. We figure it out as players. That's what we do. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, like they talked about Soulframe, they talked about the gameplay, some new enemy faction stuff, which is all fine and well, and I'm glad that they're starting to want to do more dev streams for Soulframe to kind of split that up a little bit. But again, it's still digital extremes, and they're probably going to continue to talk about both. Like, personally, I've played Soulframe a little bit here and there because I was very lucky to get into the early release, into the preludes, like the super early release. So I got to see it really, really kind of in its early infancy, and I've played a couple of times since then, and it's got some merits to it. It's just maybe not necessarily a game I'm going to be playing very much. I don't know yet. I'm going to really wait until they start doing bigger releases. So we came into the next prime frame being Ureli, okay, which is good. Like, since Loyal Merlina came out, Ureli is in a real good spot. I mean, Ureli is like it's like I've said many a time. Ureli is like the water-based version of Nezha. Like, basically, in a very loose form, but basically you got 90% DR with Merlina. Merlina in itself has its own function of, throwing its own sea snares. Plus, you still have sea snares, which all apply for damage vulnerability for enemies. I've subsumed over the Aqua Blades just because I think Breed Surge is far funnier, especially when people are stuck in her 4 and effective with sea snares. It just makes for a very destructive situation. So Ureli Prime, I am down for that, and she looks really good. She looks like a mix. She looks like a mix of this and Jade. So, like when Jade's in the flying mode, So it looks pretty good. They also talked, Calervo Deluxe is coming. That's good. The next Warframe is the Spider Frame. I remember the time when we got the, hey, we need a werewolf frame, and truthfully, up until the most recent augment for Varuna, like, Varuna was good, but in my opinion, not super spectacular. She was just a good serviceable frame, right? You could do sneak shit with her. You could do, one of her augments, made her fourth ability, her actual ultimate ability, feel a little bit more like an ultimate ability by being able to regen stuff as long as people died under slash procs. And so, yeah, so it was a pretty good time. And then they talked, and that's the Ureli update is coming with its own stuff with Calero Deluxe, and so that's a good thing. And then they opened up what the next big piece of content is going to be, which I'm assuming is around TennoCon, or at least I think that's what they said. It's either going to be no. Isle Weaver is just going to be just before, but either way, Isle Weaver is the next round of Deviri. Just when we think that we've really forgotten about Deviri, it does make sense. From a lore perspective, the man in the wall has always wanted to get his little fingers in the cookie jar of Deviri, because it's like the one place where he really just hasn't been able to go. And that's kind of what this is. Rascala from Warframe 1999 is basically stealing Deviri from Dominus Thrax, and so we get to go in as Warframes and play there. That in itself, I think, is kind of intriguing. And funny enough, the vendor is fucking Dominus Thrax in Teshin's Cave. That shit is fucking hilarious to me, okay? But that's also how we're going to farm the new spider frame. So, you know, which is Araxia. So, Araxia looks cool. Looks like she, you know, given the function of one of the specific things that they showed in the imagery was her wall latching. I'm gonna take this wild stab. Call me fucking crazy. I got a feeling, Arcane Arachne is probably gonna be a thing. Okay, just color me fucking crazy. I think Arcane Arachne is gonna be a thing for Araxia. So, but we'll get more into Araxia as the closer to Isle Weaver comes, or when Isle Weaver hits. So, yeah. And there's going to be a new operation coming. I'm always down for new operations, even if they're grindy and annoying. I like ever since Operation Orphix Venom hit, I've just really been like a fan of when new operations come because, you know, or recycled ones like Plague Star, you know, because there's always like, you can get event weapons, you can get new shit, you know, I mean, there's just all sorts of cool crap that you could possibly farm. And if you hate the operation, don't do it, but it's another clan style operation. So I'm down with this. There's some new player improvements coming. One of them I think is a little weird, okay? And I'm hoping, just for example, I'm truly hoping that it isn't the way that it sounds. Okay, so basically your progress in the star chart, we all start on Earth, right? And then we move our way over to Venus, and that's where we get our first 2 open worlds, especially through quests. And then in order to do the Mercury Junction, right? Just to do the Mercury Junction, you have to beat the Jackal at Fossa. Now here's the hiccup. If what they showed is correct, if what they showed is right, man, there's some shit that's like a little weird, okay? Because basically it's saying you have to build, and it's I don't think it said complete, but you have to be building Rhino. And that's supposed to be a new player junction fix thing. So basically here, get said tanky frame that's tankier than anything that you can initially build in the game. Because Rhino, I still say this, is probably like legitimately the first frame that you really want to farm, because his iron skin function, even with shit mods, is still going to be better survivability than something like Volt or Mag or Excalibur if you're struggling with survivability problems. Because you don't necessarily have all the mods that you need initially unless you got a really awesome clan that is really open to doing trades, you know, and getting you all the crap that you need to make some really, really good builds. Even at base mods, you can make, you know, Steel Path viable Mag and Volt builds, you know. No augment. Well, Mag can use an augment. Volt could technically use an augment, but you could get into early Steel Path with both base Volt or base Mag. So, but getting Rhino, if you're struggling with survivability, Rhino is a perfect tanky frame at beginning early game stuff. So requiring building Rhino, I don't see that as a problem, but it's the time frame. I mean, think about it. You're talking about 12-hour build time for each component. Now, granted, you can build all 3 at once, and then 3 days. Now, if they require that you have to wait basically 12 hours for somebody who's working a full-time job and then come home and you farm all the parts and you build that shit, and then you can't even do the Mercury Junction until you start building Rhino, let's just hope it's only start building Rhino, because if it's not, I feel bad for new players. I think that's going to piss some people off and make them go, yeah, fuck off. And that's not what we want. Even as a Legendary 5, I still consider new player experiences, because the more players that we have, the bigger the player base is, and the better off we all are for it, because for one, we can all be teachers when it's good and helpful, and for two, it gives us a much more diverse crowd that we can run with when we do run, in public missions, so my personal opinion, I don't think getting new players is a bad thing. Some people get all elitist and they're like, no, we don't need all these noobs. And I'm like, nah, bring them the fuck in, man. It's people watching for me. I love it. I'm down for it. I'm down to help people with it. It's great. So there's that. And then the next fucking thing, the next two things that they hit us with are where the shit gets controversial. Really, the next three. So the next thing is melee slam. Okay, so they're going to be nerfing the melee slam. Now, there's a good thing that's coming from this. One, they are going to be fixing the Naira mods to actually do what the fuck they're supposed to be doing, because the Naira mods, since they've come out, have just never really worked right. So if you're all out building into slam builds, the Naira mods have basically been applying extra crap that they shouldn't be doing. They're supposed to be focusing and giving you more melee damage, and they've just been, or more melee slam damage, and they've been giving extra melee damage and just not percentagely, you know, hitting proper, and it's just been a really kind of a tricky situation working with those mods. So they're actually fixing the Naira mods, but now they are doing one thing that I like, because honestly, when you go into a public mission and you watch somebody literally do little bunny hops and they're slamming at large radiuses, it's just really annoying to just hear kaboom, 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 and all you're doing is walking through the mission like, yeah, just let them fucking kill it, I don't care. To me, I find that to be a little more annoying. Okay, I personally do. I think it's just kind of like, wow, you know, like, I'm glad you can just kind of hop, slam. So what they're doing is they're not really nerfing the melee slam damage so much. They are fixing the Naira mods, and they are basically requiring you to get some fucking Michael Jordan hang time and then slam. So the higher you jump and then the slam, the bigger your damage, basically. So they're scaling it more to at least a slight level of reality of, you know, if you bunny hop and slam something, it's going to chip the ground. If you jump 40 meters in the fucking air and slam into the ground, it's going to make a crater. I mean, it's just base logic here, okay? I'm not mad with this nerf. Because personally, I think it's a correction. And kind of like Pablo said during the DevStream, you know, that it's just making it to where the play is just highly too automated. Like, how are you supposed to die when you have massive range, massive amounts of kind of really double and triple dipping damage at times, and all you do is just bunny hop? There's no real fear of death. There's no real fear of getting yourself fucked up. You just kind of go into the mission and go, yeah, fuck you. I'm just going to slam my way through it, and that's going to be that. Personally, unless I'm using Varuna, I only use like slam builds with either the Kodemeyer, which I just find hilarious, and I usually do big jumping slams with that shit anyway. But I either use, you know, like the Kodemeyer, or I'm specifically targeting one enemy, and I usually want to get some hang time just because that one enemy is usually a tanky bastard, and so they could kind of booger me up if I stand there. You know, or if I try to do the little bunny hop slam thing. So to me, this is already fitting into a playstyle that I do. So maybe I'm a little biased, who knows? The next thing they hit us with, and there's actually a reason why I'm highlighted on the Lavos, because there is a few frames that fit into what I'm about to talk about. So we're going to cover that. We're going to hit that right now, okay? So Lavos is definitely one. Let's think about without subsumes. Let's see, she can play... yeah, she's not much of a tank on that one. Technically, we'll get into this. He's shield, that's health regen, so that doesn't really count. Nidus diverts, so that doesn't really count. There's a few frames in here. Oh yeah, Calervo, definitely. I mean, he can re-heal, so that's pretty straightforward. Basically, we're going to talk about health and armor tanking. Okay, quite specifically. Now, I'm going to highlight one frame, but I do want to clarify that this is more towards Excalibur Umbra than it is Excalibur once highlighted. Now, there's just been this big hubbub about the next thing I'm going to talk about. And it's not that it's unwarranted. Okay, it's really not. Oh yeah, definitely an Aros. Fuck me, definitely an Aros. Holy crap. Definitely. Oh yeah, Oberon. Oberon, that's one. Do. See, I'm trying to... I mean... Yeah... And, I'll keep him out of that for now. This one seems like the weird one, right? This one seems like the weird one. So to bare basic, okay, we're talking what, 9 frames? Okay. Now, I'm specifically targeting Excalibur, and base Excalibur does kind of fit this because he is kind of a health armor tank. Yes, he does have shields. Yes, you can build into shields into some shield regen builds or shield gating. So you do have to take into account that shields do give an extra layer of survivability, and some of these frames do give that, okay? And Hydroid is going to seem kind of like a weird one, you know, because, like, you don't want to put overguard frames in this. Like, even though Kalervo doesn't have shields, Kalervo can very quickly and very easily, no matter what the enemy type is, build overguard off of that enemy. You know, so even though he's got no shields, he's basically just health and armor. He doesn't really fit because overguard exists. So what we're getting into is a Valkyr rework. Now, I have been saying for a long time that Valkyr is one of those frames that basically needed nearly a top to bottom rework. Okay? This... my God. See, this is what I think it's going to end up being, just so you're aware. This is what I think the build is going to end up being. This is just a pure... I actually just added this config, and I built into what I think is going to have to happen. So, what they're doing is they are killing... And I'm not joking when I say this, and I'm not trying to be, like, passive-aggressively approaching or overly aggressive approaching what they're doing, but they are taking away the damage and vulnerability, okay? They're completely nuking your invincibility function, which was the one good thing Valkyr had. So now it's going to have basically a build-up meter that if you take, you know, fatal damage, you're going to be able to revive, as long as you have that meter built up. Now, with uses of something like melee influence, is it going to be that hard to build this meter up? No. And there's, you know, the lifesteal is still going to exist, so it's basically lifesteal per enemy kill with Hysteria is still going to exist, and it's 5% of your health. So it's kind of like Lavos' first ability, you know, it's, you know, except you're just whipping a motherfucker with Lavos, you're not even killing him. So Ripline is going to get some grouping. I think that's kind of meh. And from the way it looks, and yes, you can see I've got a lot of range built into this, but the way it looks right now is Ripline is going to have basically like a vortex function, which is fine. And then they are taking the speed decrease off of this ability to put it onto this ability. They're changing paralysis around to, in my opinion, what looks like it's going to be worse. And Warcry is still going to exist, and it's going to give you a bunch of armor, which, as you can see, I'm applying strength into this to really play into the armor. You know, because I think that's going to be a big factor. And yes, the kit is going to synergize better. Minus the fact that I think overall, Ripline is going to now be hurt by a difference of... The vortex function is going to be great for trash mobs, right? And that's going to be great if you need to lifesteal and heal yourself, because now that's going to be a thing because you're not invincible anymore. And I know there's always going to be somebody saying, well, invincibility isn't everything. There's invincibility everywhere in this game. It's in different levels, okay? Like Corvex's, you know, new augment makes him invincible as long as he's in his 4th ability, right? You know, Overguard is a layered level of invincibility because you can't take status damage, you don't take health damage, you don't take any kind of fucking damage until the Overguard breaks. So, as long as you're able to build more Overguard, like Steinex, Kalervo, Dante, Frost, Rhino, Nyx, you know, or any frame that's wielding secondary fortifier, you know, then... You know, and granted, that's only 15,000, so I can get chipped away pretty fucking quick. But I'm just saying, if you put secondary fortifier on, you're automatically giving yourself an extra level of invincibility. So don't tell me that invincibility isn't a thing, Okay, don't tell me that invincibility is the only thing that you can do. Now, granted, can you bust out a secondary, use secondary fortifier, and give yourself overguard? Sure. But that's on the basis of as long as there's somebody around you that has overguard that you can steal it from with the secondary to begin with. So overall, you're basically now going to be using your health in a non-invincible way to heal yourself, kill enemies, and hope like fuck you don't get down because of your damage reduction. And this is why I bring this up. Okay. So this list of frames that I put in here all rely on two functions, in a sense. Now, Lavos has shields. Hydroid has shields. Chroma has shields. Chroma also incentivizes. He's kind of like, I've seen a meme floating around in a couple of Warframe meme groups of Chroma looking like the Joker in the Dark Knight saying, hit me, hit me. I mean, it's fucking true. He incentivizes taking damage. Corvex has shields, but, you know, his normal health tanking is, as long as you have Arcane Grace and a shit ton of armor, it's not completely terrible, but it's not something that I would put up as like an A-tier frame. Okay? Without his augment, Corvex is not, just like, and I play the fuck out of Lavos, okay? But just like Lavos, there comes a point when, you know, you come to a Blitz Eximus or an Arson Eximus, and all of a sudden, you get this fucker just like side eyes your ass, you know, at like level 4,000, and all of a sudden he just goes, farts some flame at you, and you fucking die. So I think this really, you know, needs to come down to health and armor tanking doesn't always work. And the difference is that you can shield gate, okay? With that shield gate comes invincibility when the shields break. Very short-lived, and if you've got yourself built properly to where, you know, you've got augur mods, you know, buffing your shields, you got Briefer Spite buffing your shields, you got Arcane Aegis keeping your shields from breaking, you know, as much as possible, because that, you know, the whole point is to let them break so you get the invincibility, and every time you cast abilities, you're just building your shit right back up quickly. But there is shield gating, but shield gating is very, very... The reason I don't personally like shield gating is because shield gating requires more activity than I feel like doing. So yes, that makes me sound like a lazy cunt. I'm not even going to fucking lie. That makes me sound like a lazy piece of shit. But what's a frame that is a perfect example of you won't know you're dead until you're... Anaros. Okay? Even with all of his armor and all of his health and Arcane Grace, in the wrong set of circumstances, because all Inaros has is his third ability, which gives him, you know, status immunity and armor. And then he's got a bunch of health, and he's got armor, right? Just base armor. So he's got a flat damage reduction, and he builds up that damage reduction with the extra armor that he gets that also negates status effects. The problem is that when the damage output from the enemy exceeds what your health is, even with that damage reduction, you just fucking die and you don't even know what's going to happen. Like, you're just like, oh, look, I'm full health. Oh, fuck, I'm down. You know, that's the problem that you run into. Because, like, you know, unless you build into more shields, Lavos has minimal shields. Hydroid doesn't have a ton of shields. Hydroid is another one of those. And yes, Hydroid has high survivability from plunder. Like, he can build a bunch of armor. You know, and the way I've got him built on shield regenning. So it's not actually... This sounds really stupid. This isn't shield gating, obviously. This is just basically shield breakage prevention, and then shield regen for the damage that gets through Aegis. So that's really all this is, and then me brewing up a fuck ton of health to make up for the lack of not putting any health into the build. So if for some reason the shields do break, I do have a moment to hit the 2 and not die while taking any damage while the shields are busted, you know, which doesn't happen very often with this particular build, but this build works extremely well. But if you're not focused into the shields, then it's like ugga-duggas. You know, Hydroid can have some problems. If you do this kind of build, Hydroid doesn't fit this narrative at all. Chroma, yeah. You can go from, I've got minimal shields, which is the point. You want the shields to take damage. You want to take health damage because it helps buff him. But he can also just get thwacked by an Eximus really quickly. You know, even with all the armor that he's got. Chroma can, if you're not listening to the, like, you know, the enemy audio, if you're just jamming out to music playing the game and all of a sudden a fucking Arson Xmas behind you and blast your ass, it can down you. You know, again, Corvex, he's got status resistance. He doesn't have status immunity. His third ability, everybody thinks it's immunity, okay? It says guard yourself and nearby enemies against status effects, okay? So, it's like, well, they've actually changed the wording, I guess, because it used to just say, you know, basically guard yourself and nearby allies with status against status effects with status resistance, if I remember correctly. I could be incorrect, but like if you do like his normal, what I would, you know, used to use prior to his new what the fuck is it? I'm sorry, I'm having a moment. Force Crucible. Before Force Crucible came out, this was what I ran and it worked perfectly fine. And just a metric fuck ton of armor, armor stripping people with Wrecking Wall when that augment came out, because that was great. Made life easy. And then a triple umbral with an empty vitality to give me the armor, the strength, but then to give me the stack, right? That's just kind of what I did. And then physique to kind of make up a little bit for that, which, yeah, I mean, I could go different ways with this. And this would work for a while, but as you climbed in levels, it started to become a bit of a problem. Like, one of the key factors always comes into adaptation, right? Like, adaptation, when you're armor and health tanking, adaptation is almost a must-have mod. You almost cannot get around it. Because there's nothing in the scaling nature of armor and health tanking that stops direct kills, okay, against you. You know, Atlas is another one. Minimal shields, you know, shit ton of armor made, especially from, you know, using his augment, Rubble Heap, I think. Yeah, Rubble Heap. Yeah, so when you're using Rubble Heap, you know, you're building up a fuck ton of armor to help. But again, you can get your ass one-tapped pretty fucking quickly that way, if you're not paying attention. You know, Excal has like basically no survivability in his kit whatsoever. Umbra specifically, because Umbra has more armor. So again, you are playing with minimal shields, and you're playing with health and armor. You know, Oberon, even though Oberon has a self-healing function, and I know I was actually saying, no, he can heal himself, Oberon really lives and dies on the basis of either using Phoenix Renewal or playing on the basis of being able to heal yourself without completely running yourself out of energy in the process. You know, and then now Valkyr is going to be another one of those. You know, bunch of armor, build into a bunch of health. You're going to have adaptation now. And it's going to really just kind of change the build. Like, I don't even remember if I put adaptation on here. Yeah, see, I haven't even put adaptation on here yet. But see, what I'm going to be doing is have a bunch of fucking energy on here. You know, and then the truth of it is instead of ditching duration, I'm actually probably going to be running Blind Rage. Because I'm going to have so much fucking energy that I'm at least going to be able to use Hysteria with more strength. You know, like, this is really incomplete, okay? I'm not even gonna lie, this is very incomplete. This was just kind of a testing when I was talking to some of my clanmates about why I think this is not the best idea. But it is what it is right now. And the thing of it is I don't want to be a super negative Nancy, because I do run health and health armor tank frames. You know, I do run a Naros. You know, hell, Nidus is another one, but Nidus redirects a shit ton of fucking damage away, but, you know, yeah, as you climb up in levels, yeah, I mean, as long as you've got mutation stacks, it's really fucking hard to die with Nidus once you even up in high levels. It's just you got to keep those mutation stacks really going. Hence why Abundant Mutation is a huge buddy of that, because you can just keep yourself capped out at 300, and then, you know, if you die, oh, damn the bad luck, you're down to 285. Oh, whoops, I died again. You know, but you have time. You have time to link to somebody else and start redirecting the damage again. So, like, it's one of those, yeah, shit happens. So, like, this is obviously not a complete build, okay, by any stretch. And the problem is going to come to, I need to see it, right? So I'm not going to just shit all over it. I'm not going to shit all over what they're doing with Valkyr, but what I am going to say is that taking away the damage vulnerability, which is, you know, just basically giving her an immortal function, taking that away is dumb. The whole gripe that almost everybody had was that we just wanted the rest of this kit to kind of synergize better to this. That's really all we wanted. And instead, we're now going to basically gut this down to a worse type of survivability and then some to make the rest of the new part of the kit, the rearranged pieces of the kit, fit to this. Once this has been changed. So it's like I'll say this. Do I think Valkyrie is going to be playable at standard Steel Path content? Absolutely. I don't question that in the least. I really don't. I think Valkyrie is going to be just fine for standard Steel Path. Where I do think Valkyrie may have some problems, depending on decrees, can be Steel Path Circuit. That could definitely be one because the enemy level tends to get pretty high. And if you don't do like energy cost, free, basically free ability casting or, efficiency or melee damage type decrees pretty early, Valkyrie could be a little bit of a problem. Not much, but a little. And then you've got EDA and ETA, so Elite Deep Archimedia and Elite Temporal Archimedia. This is where, truthfully, those two mission nodes, those two mission types are where Valkyrie fucking shined. Because the one problem that we all run into, and like, well, here, I don't even need to go to the locations. I got pretty lucky. Okay. In my opinion, I got really damn lucky. I only got down once in both of them. Okay. So my Elite Deep Archimedia, or Elite Temporal Archimedia this week, I don't think anybody's going to tell me that that's a bad setup at all. Citrine, the Incarnate Strun Prime, the fucking Onos, and the Tenant Livia, and it's a fucking melee influence Tenant Livia with some really good range. Yeah. I've got health regen, I've got, and it's a pillage build. I use just my regular pillage build on this. And I took every one of the negatives. I just took the whole loadout and all 4 negatives. And never got downed. Like, yeah, Citrine's good, and the weapons that I got, nothing to scoff at. My Elite Deep Archimedia, I dropped one of the gear embargo, or I dropped the gear embargo one for the mirror defense, so I could, use the Ancient Healer and all that. But I got Temple, I got the Fulman Prime, which you would think I wouldn't do that because I had the Quelor or the Fulman Prime, and the Quelor has a really punchy alternate fire. But funny enough, when you're going against the Murmur, the Fulman Prime is actually not bad, even at level 4 to 450 or whatever the hell those assholes are. So not horrible. Kuvanukor is perfectly suited to fight against the sorry, I'm having a moment, against the Murmur. And then the Grand Prime on an influence, well, they don't like electric. So, and then Temple's simple function of their third ability just being what it is. The only thing that I changed for my entire Temple build was applying Nourish over Pyrotechnics, because there was the whole energy loss when there were too many enemies around you, basically. So as long as there was an enemy, I think within 10 meters of you, you'd lose 2 energy a second or some bullshit. So I just had this and Zeneric, and it was a good time. Plus Lizzie if I needed it. So overall, this loadout, not bad either. And the only reason I got down is because I was reviving one of the public squad mates during the alchemy mission. But either way, like, I lucked out with my setup. But when you have a crappy week, like you got a bunch of weapons that are just dog shit and the negatives are crap, as long as you don't have to take the whole minus 75% energy, Valkyrie was a perfect option if she was on the list. Because it didn't matter. It just did not matter. This bitch didn't need weapons. It was just 4th ability. I'm invincible. I shall claw. Is it the most functional way to go? No, but you knew you could rely on it. Now we come down to the point of, why do I need Valkyrie when Baruch exists? Why do I need Valkyrie when Gara exists? If I have such a huge range with Gara, why in the fuck do I need her now? Like, they have to be able to touch me first. Valkyrie wants to go all berserker and be up in everybody's face and claw and stomp on everybody. Gara's like, here, let me swing a building-sized sword at people. Like, there's other frames that can now do the job better that don't require you to constantly heal yourself by getting kills. By the basic information that we've gotten, I don't know that this is a good thing. I really don't. Now, it's funny, is I'm going to take these favorites off now, which will take a sec, because I don't like this whole resetting scroll wheel thing. Like, I wish it would just, you know, stay where the hell it was. If I'm up here at the top, stop dropping me down. But you and I know, as long as the frame has shields, yes, you have the option of shield gating. I'm not disputing that. I just personally find shield gating be more annoying. It's not that I hate it. It's not that I can't play it. I just find it to be annoying. Okay, I really do. Shit, where the hell was I going to go with that, actually? Oh yeah. So we're also going to get a Valkyrie heirloom, which, I mean, if they're doing, that seems to be kind of the thing. Whenever they rework a frame, oh, by the way, here's an heirloom. So they did that Nova rework, we got a Nova heirloom. You know, they did the, you know, and we got a Rhino heirloom with absolutely nothing. We got a slight tweaking of Ember, we got an Ember heirloom, you know? Here we are. But the next heirloom coming after that is Vauban. Which, are they going to do a rework on Vauban? Could Vauban use a rework? Yeah. Vauban's pretty good. You know, and Vauban's one of those high cast frames, or can be a high cast frame, to use for shield gating. So, can you function Vauban as he is? Absolutely. 100% you can. But if he's getting a, you know, an heirloom skin, which, by the way, is like the most 80s thing I've ever seen in my life. Giant puffy jacket, and oh yeah, it's fucking great. I'm in the mix of it looks cool and what the fuck were they thinking, but either way, I'm fine with it. But we are getting a Vauban heirloom. And I'm just sitting here thinking, man, maybe they'll rework this. And then they did a dev short today. And the dev short today talked about... Why is my brain broken? Oberon. So Oberon seems to be high on the radar. I hope that's the case. They also talked about armor health rework. Now, here's where I'm going with this. Okay? If armor and health tanking is something that they want to more implement, because like I said, I showed 9 frames, and some of these frames have shields, some don't. Doesn't really matter. Their reliance is basically on health and armor. The shields are just kind of this minimalistic thing that exists, okay? So if they want to focus some of these frames in armor and health tanking, they need to balance this out to something like what the shields do, because when shields break, you get this blip of invulnerability. So you can, you know, use rolling guard, you can pop in your operator and zip the fuck away. There's many ways to get the fuck out of a bad situation. With health and armor, you can't. It's just like something breaks through your armor, hits you to health, and you fucking die, and there's almost no warning to it. And it's usually, I'm not gonna lie, it's usually something that's like, oops, I did the incredibly stupid. Which, my running joke is that I say this shit about myself all the time. You fuck up and forget to cast something, or you fuck up and you're not paying attention to, you know, the environment and the enemies around you, and you goof and you're just hyper-focused into something else, and you get downed, and that's the incredibly stupid. You play Nezha, your warding halo goes down, you're hyper-focused on killing one Xmas because he's pissing you off. You die. That's not the game's fault. You forgot to cast warding halo, so you know what that is? That's the incredibly stupid. It's okay, we all do it. It's not dogging on anybody. But I would, especially since they brought it up in today's dev short, this is my point. I really hope that they consider that if they're going to take away a complete invincibility function of a frame, which was the best thing about that frame, I really hope, with the outcry that the community is putting out right now, that they take a deep dive into health armor work. Like, basically have a meter of what our armor is doing, and at least give us a visual, because right now we can't see armor, right? We just know it's there. We can see what adaptation does. We have a health number, we have a shield number. We don't have an armor gauge. So it'd be really good if we at least had a gauge of, oh, by the way, the armor's weak and you're about to take some health damage. That would be something, and I know that that's not how the game prerequisites everything. It just basically, like, here, I mean, like, you have my Lavos build, right? That's not what I was trying to do. So we have my Lavos build, so we come over here to armor, right? I have 81.8% armor. Okay. And this isn't even the highest armor build. I have 89.5, so almost 90%, right? But that doesn't mean dick if I stop paying attention in a particular spot. I personally just like Valence Formation better, so there it is. But like, if they either give us an indicator of, hey, you're going to get fucked up if you're not paying attention, or balance it out to act more like shields. So let's say, you know, your armor is basically almost kind of like the game likes to say puncture damage does to Grenier. You know, it chips away at their armor, right? Give us something to tell us, hey, your armor is being degraded at the moment due to the incoming damage that you're taking. You're gonna die if you're not careful. Or give us a bit of invulnerability if the armor, if the amount of damage bypassing the armor is going to kill you. So basically, a very quick blip of get out of jail free. I'm not saying that it should just let us keep all of our health, knock us down to, 25% health. I don't care. Just something to give us the ability of going, oh shit, I'm trying not to die. That's where I think this Valkyrie rework is not so good. Now, granted, we got to see it to believe it, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and dog out on DE on this. I don't think that they're approaching this the right way because they're fucking with her best ability. But I'm down for changes. Like I really am. There's times when I've looked at them when they've worked on other frames, like when the Hydroid rework first came out. When I looked at what they did, I was only excited about the puddle going away. The rest of it, I was like, eh. And then I played it and I was like, bro, this is good. This is really good. The Grendel rework in general, it was kind of hard to really not be happy about the Grendel rework. The Nova rework, been very happy with that one. The Ember rework, albeit, she's way down on the list because, World on Fire doesn't really exist anymore. But, the Ember rework, still good. The Caliban rework, Caliban got bumped way up. Caliban used to be my most hated frame in this game. Caliban's very playable now. Some people love him, some people hate him, but Caliban is very playable. Sorry, I have a cat roaming through my house meowing. That's how I make him shut up, sorry. So I mean, like, I just want to see him balance it out to give us, to give health tank frames, health and armor based tanking frames, give him a functional chance to survive hardcore hits. I'm not even asking for it to be like shield gating, because shield gating is like this crazy amount of survivability. And yeah, it's very hyperactive playstyle, but it is a crazy amount of survivability. So if you're going to go up to really high level stuff, hyperactive play makes sense. Gets really chaotic, whole lots of damage coming in. Might as well make it, it all be chaos at once. It's controlled chaos. We like that. So I'm seeing people pissed off about the melee slam nerf. I'm seeing, or the melee slam reorientation. I'm seeing people super pissed off. Like there's a select few here and there that are like, I don't mind this Valkyrie change. They apparently haven't played Valkyrie very much. Or they're just so tired of Valkyrie just having such a bad kit that they're just happy to have anything happen to her. Oh, I'm sorry, the Nyx rework too. Nyx rework, solid. I mean, like, there's been reworks that have happened. The Ashe rework, also good. Like, sorry, I don't mean to divert, but just saying. But I mean, it's just like, you just look at how some of these frames work, and then you look at like there's like 9 to 12 frames that kind of fit the category, depending on how you have them built and depending on how you play them, that can really fit into that, oh shit, I'm gonna die because I have very minimal shields and this thing really focuses on my armor protecting me. So either give us something to show us that, hey, you're gonna get fucked up, and give us like an armor degradation kind of meter, just like we have a shield meter. So at least tell us, hey, you're still going to be able to stop this much damage, but you've been taking this much damage, so we're only going to be able to stop this much. Give us something. And I know I'm not a coder, I'm not a game writer. I'm just telling you what I see, because like, it's why I put Lavos as like a C tier frame. He's a solid option frame. You guys have seen me test weapons, and I've shown this Lavos build off time and time again of just standing there and just being shot in the face, and nothing happens. I've done it with Corvex just to prove a point. At low level steel path play, Valkyrie's going to be fine, okay? Valkyrie's going to be just fine. If you go shield gating, Valkyrie's really going to be fine, because you're going to be able to recast Warcry. That was another change. So just basically, oh, shield broke, Warcry. They go bongo. Like, I mean, you're just going to be able to constantly keep doing it. So depending on how you have Valkyrie built, you could shield gate with her. That's your bag. You're going to love this. Seriously, you're going to love it, because you're going to get all the normal Hysteria stuff, but the rest of the kit's actually going to be more functional for what you want to do. So shield gate players, I think, are going to be excited about this. Everybody else who has known Valkyrie for what she is, this is a wait and see and hope, like, fuck, this isn't a massive nerf to Valkyrie. And I only say massive on anybody who's running high-level stuff. I am not saying that, I'm not pulling a chicken little here, okay? I am 100%, I fucking play Lavos a lot. I understand what it is to health and shield, or health and armor tank. The sky is not falling with this Valkyrie rework. It's just cloudy, okay? And it turns into a thunderstorm the further into the storm you go, right? That's the levels. So, but overall, I mean, like, we're getting four augments. I know, I think there's a Citrine augment and a Caliban augment. I don't remember the other ones. I know I should probably be better prepared, but, you know, this is me. Yeah, I mean, overall, the DevStream was fine. They were definitely limited on time frame due to being on the pack stage. So you didn't get to go off on too many tangents. They were pretty steadfast. But yeah, overall, we're kind of on the hurry up and wait to see how this goes. So I'm sorry this wasn't like the most interactive video. I'm sorry this is a longer video. And I know I'm just kind of beating the drum on the health and armor tank bit, but the truth of it is like, there is a reason behind why most frames have certain levels of survivability, and why Overguard is so functionally good, you know, and, you know, why massive damage reduction from abilities alone is really fucking good. You know, Nova, you know, just innately you can get a shit ton of damage reduction. Ureli with Loyal Merlina, you know, with Merlina, 90% damage reduction. Nezha with Warding Halo, 90% damage reduction. Revenant, ain't dying as long as I got Mesmer Skin. You know? I mean, these are all, like, Revenant is basically invincible as long as you have Mesmer Skin. You know, because it doesn't matter how big the damage is, it's only one charge Mesmer Skin. You know, Overguard can completely break and you still have your shields. Well, depending on the frame, you still at least have your health, like with Calervo, which is not so much of a fun place to be. But like with Dante and Frost, you still have shields, you still have health. You know, with Stynex, you still have shields, you still have health, and Stynex builds more shields, so you get more wiggle room. You know, Rhino, as long as you don't run into a nullifier or a fucking fall off the map or some shit, Rhino can build up an absolute metric fuck ton of Overguard. You know, so it's just, you just kind of stand back and you go, ugh, come on, man. Like, why are we making the frame worse just to change the kit minimally? You know, why not make it work harder on the rest of the kit to fit into more of, you know, to make something functional with Hysteria, not completely revamp Hysteria and then only minimally make changes to the rest of it. Because, like, making Ripline CC, come on, man. Anything with Overguard is immune to CC. And those are the enemies that we'd really like to be able to group together. And I understand why Overguard exists, to make the enemies a little bit more of an annoyance and a little bit more of a problem. But putting a CC ability on a frame when, let's say, a third of your enemies are completely immune, the ones that are going to cause you problems are completely immune to CC anyway. Okay. So unless I need health and I need to lifesteal from enemies, Ripline really doesn't do me a lot of good. I don't know. We're going to wait and see. It's just my thoughts on DevStream 188. Overall, there's some good. There's some questionable. I'm still sitting here waiting to see 3 reworks, and one of them isn't even listed, okay? Like, putting rework on Rhino, I just want to see more energy, okay? I want to see him give Rhino Prime a larger energy pool, truthfully, without having to throw a shit ton of Argon shards and using up space for something that is more useful. Primes are supposed to have a fuck ton more energy, or at least a decent amount of more energy, and Rhino Prime are basically neck and neck with each other. So if they would just give Rhino Prime more energy and stop making his overguard completely ability based, so where it can be turned off if you fall off the map. Because like you fall off the map with Dante, you still have your overguard. You still have it with Stynex. You still have it with Frost. You don't with Rhino. It's dumb. So there's two things they need to fix. They need to fix his 2, and they need to just give him more energy. After that, Rhino is fine. Okay? I still say Oberon needs a rework. I still say Chroma needs a rework. Okay? And honestly, if they're gonna rework Vauban, I would be down for that, depending on what they're gonna do, because Vauban is an interesting character. Vauban, just needs a little TLC. Just my opinion. So, that's what I got for now. So, folks, I want to thank you very much for watching. As always, catch you in the next one, all right?